Okay, so I think we can start off with roll call, right?
Yes, you can. Matias Deano,
Here?
Alfredo Agredano,
Here.
Hector Tito Garcia, Alfredo Gutierrez,
Here.
Minerva Villarreal, as I said, she's not able to attend due to a family matter. Cordelia Flores. Here. Alfonso Maldonado.
Here.
And Nathan Bratton.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, so we start off by reading the bios before we started recording.
And just for purposes of the record, we have Mr. Nathan Bratton as a new member, but you did attend the last meeting that was held, and there are no August 8th minutes from 2018 because that meeting was actually canceled.
Right.
So it's on our agenda erroneously.
Okay, good. So this will be Nathan's first full meeting with a quorum, right? Good, thank you, Nathan. Who appointed you, Nathan?
Dr. Martinez.
Dr. Marte? Oh, good, okay. Good for him. Okay, so welcome aboard, Nathan. Okay, so we've read the bios already, right? So I think, and we've already introduced Nathan. I think we don't have the approval of the August 8th minutes because you said we didn't need them, or we didn't have them because you didn't produce any. There's no public comments. So let's start discussing this El Progreso Park. I read Jovita Hidar's bio. I thought it was super interesting. And she sounded like a really great person. And I don't think there's gonna be any problem. Who's the one that, it doesn't say, I wish they put on there.
Right.
Who was the one that recommended
This
or
is,
her?
it was Councilmember Vielma who initiated the
Vielma?
motion, and council passed the recommendation, or they passed it unanimously. The bio was written by Ms. Meg Guerra of Dos Laredos, and she read it at the council meeting when this came.
Oh, yeah, she did a good job. And for the future, can we put on there who
Yes,
the
sir.
council member was that?
Yes, of course.
Make the recommendation.
Yeah, made the recommendations, just so we'll know. I think we had them in the past.
Right.
Okay, so let's go down the list. Nathan, what we did was, we had a criteria that we established way back when we got started. We wanted to keep it very simple, so it's just a 10-step process. We go through it, and there's no issues, then we make the recommendation to the council to proceed with their approval of the naming of the park. So, we are talking about the Jovita Hidar El Progreso Park, right? And right now it's Bartlett Park. Which park is that? Is that the one that's got the running track?
Bowling alley. What Bartlett?
The one that has been pulled by the
Calle Norte.
Oh, yeah. It's the one that's got the huge retention pond right in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
And the huge track all around. Okay, yeah. That's the Bartlett Park. Okay, cool, that would be a good one. Okay, so let's go over the criteria. Number one, may name buildings for deceased or living. I assume that she is not living, right?
It's my assumption as well.
Use the names of admirable, honorable people. I think Councilman Vilma has established that. Recognize substantial contributions. I think she did that. Avoid naming, changing the name of a facility, with exceptions as noted in the city of Laredo naming of facilities policy, city facilities policy. So, we are changing the name, however, it's Bartlett Park, not the name of a person, so we don't have an issue with that. Right? It's a moot point. So, number 5 is avoid using corporate names. We're not doing that. Avoid naming facilities for the department, city employees, or elected officials for a period of 2 years after leaving office. That's not the case. Require the completion of the commission's proposal form for naming a city or Laredo facility. They didn't do that. I think we have a standard form that we use, right?
Yeah.
We do. I don't think council has been providing the form filled out. I think they've just been providing bios along with the motion from the council meeting.
We probably should ask at least, have somebody fill it out, just for the record, since it's not one of our criterias. What can happen is if we have them for some people, but not for others, I don't want to create a feeling of bias, or, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or
If they do not fill out that proposal form, we'll be sure the information.
Yeah, the bio's good, no, they can do it afterwards too.
Okay.
I mean, just so we can have it for, at least for the record, right?
Mhm.
Since it is one of our criterias,
Sure thing.
okay? Consider the correlation between the facility and the recommended name. Is there a correlation? We just have to consider it. I don't think there's a correlation,
Right.
but since she was an upstanding member of the community and she really contributed her time and efforts to her cause, I think we can consider that there needs to be no direct correlation. Number 9, consider public opinion comments, and nobody wants to step forward, right? We don't have anybody scheduled.
No, but they already stepped forward at the meeting. I think I heard that Meg Guerra had gone there to promote that, and she spoke.
In
And
favor.
one time, at one of our early meetings, this lady that is, and I know her very well, she runs the Historical Society.
Margarita Raiza.
Ms. Margarita Raiza came and she passed out some flyers about her. She wanted us to be aware of that lady, and she came because she wanted to tell us that we should consider historical people or something, and she brought up that name. I remember that very well.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a good deal. Okay, so, but they were all positive comments.
They were all positive
Okay,
comments.
good, okay. So, number 10, avoid individuals that have been convicted of a felony, and in this case, it's not the case. So I think we're good to go on these 10 criterias. So, does somebody want to make a motion?
I motion that we accept her, or that we say yes, that it's, what do we motion, by the way?
Approve.
We have the motion.
Oh,
For
approve.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Name change.
I second the motion.
So we have an approval, right, by Mrs. Flores.
Second.
We have a motion with a second, right? So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. So we recommend to the City Council to rename the park from Bartlett Park to Ovita Idas El Progreso Park. You mind if I close the door?
Of course, no, feel free.
Okay, so we're good to go there, right?
Yes, sir.
With the exception of the proposal.
Right.
They want to keep in our records, right? Let's see, let's go over, the second one is discussion with possible action to consider the request to rename the Maryland Toddler Park to the Cynthia Collazo Toddler Park. Okay, so first of all, where is this? Where is the Maryland Toddler Park?
That's the one right behind.
I don't know.
Behind the mall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one right behind the school, Clark?
Yeah, I think it's the one right behind the park.
I didn't realize that was a park, I thought that was part of the school. Really? How do you
The
get
ones that got a dragon, you know?
The one that's got a dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get to it?
You come in through the backside of the side.
Really? Huh.
Maybe it's the one that I'm thinking.
I guess you come to the residential.
To the
area.
residential area.
Yeah.
So it's for that residential area. I always thought it was part of the school. It's yours or mine? I thought it was yours. Okay.
Well,
Well, I don't think we
the
need to see
keyboard's
it.
giving out on
I
this.
think I think I can imagine which one it is. Okay, so let's go over the criteria. I think everybody has an issue with one of the criteria, but we still have to go through the process and then give a recommendation, okay? So number 1, may name buildings for deceased or living, so I know she is living. Use the names of admirable, honorable people. I think we can say that she has been a very admirable and honorable person in her 41 and a half years with the city. Recognize substantial individual contributions, whether by time or public service or financial contribution. And she fits the bill with the public service. Avoid changing the name on a facility with exceptions as noted in the City of Laredo naming of facilities, of city facilities policy. So we're not changing the names, or are we? Maryland is not the name of a person, right? Is it?
Maryland
It's a
Coffee?
street, isn't it a street?
I believe it's the street.
Okay, so then we're okay there, because that was for renaming in terms of the name of a person, right?
Yes.
Not the name of a thing. Okay, so, let's see, avoid using corporate names for permanent recognition, not the case. And number 6, avoid naming facilities for department, city employees, or elected officials for a period of 2 years after leaving office. And that's the one probably we have to elaborate on. Okay, so let's wait on number 6 and jump to number 7 and the rest. Number 7, require the completion of the commission's proposal form for naming a city of Laredo facility. And we agreed that we're gonna get that done, right? From here on forward. Number 8, consider the correlation between the facility and the recommended name. Again, that's just consider. There probably is no correlation, or maybe there might be. Maybe she was responsible for helping put it together, right? So we don't know. But either way, it's just consider. Number 9, consider public opinion comments. And I don't think there are any, right? Did anybody come up to the city council and either,
I think council shared opinions and it was all positive.
it was all
It
positive
in
by the
favor.
council, okay? And number 10, avoid individuals that have been convicted of a felony, okay? So we know that's not the case. Okay, so let's get back to number 6. I got a couple of emails with that problem of naming the place after somebody that's been working after 2 years rather than before 2 years. And I remember the reason for that. But does anybody have an opinion on that before I throw my spiel? No?
I think we should abide with the criteria.
The rules are set out for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, it's a criteria.
And if we start breaking
It
them
says
up,
avoid, it doesn't say do not, it just says avoid. I don't know how powerful the word avoid is.
Well, no. We know why we did it. It says avoid. Avoid is stronger than consider, that's for sure. But the reason that we did that, Nathan, so you'll know, is because when people leave office, there's always a chance that something could come out later, right? In other words, they're not necessarily Cynthia, she's been an upstanding, employee for many years. But the reason we set that, or we used that criteria, or came up with it, was because we wanted to make sure that when the person left office, that they weren't charged with anything illegal.
Down the line.
And usually happens within 2 years, immediately after they leave office. Like, you're forced out of office and something comes out. So we figured it was long enough time, 2 years, to wait until that happened, then we could, rename or name the facility after that person. So that was the reasoning behind that criteria. And we were just, I think, several cities had that same policy, right? Now, remember, we're just gonna recommend, the city council can do anything they want, right? So I think from what I'm hearing is that Cynthia was an upstanding, her bio's great. I really liked her bio. And she's done a lot. And I don't know who else has been with the city for 41 and a half years. But she's been here probably since she was little, since she was young.
since model cities,
Monday?
since model cities,
Since Model City?
back in the 60s,
Back in the 60s, yeah. So,
70s.
does anybody else have any other opinions, recommendations? I've heard abide by the criteria. Does anybody have anything on the opposite side of the spectrum besides?
Good question.
You have a question? What is the question?
Is it appropriate to recommend to the council that they leave the name the same for a period of 2 years and then it automatically change to her name?
I think that's a great idea. I think that's a good compromise.
And that way it doesn't come back, and that way they know that you're trying to adhere to your criteria.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a way to, it's been named Maryland Park for who knows for how long, and, or whatever its name
Good
is.
idea.
And
Yeah.
so the recommendation would be, go ahead and rename it effective.
Yeah, when did she leave office? Do we know?
Just last-
January
A couple of weeks ago.
In January.
January 31st.
So a month ago.
Mhm.
Okay, so she's got 23 months to go in a few days.
22, March, February, March almost done.
Yeah, 22 months. Okay, so let's work this carefully here. But first of all, do you want to make a motion?
It was just a suggestion.
Okay, I can't make a motion, so I make a motion?
My motion is still that we abide by the rules.
Okay,
And let the council know that the rules.
so
are
we're
rules.
so we're still
How does that
discussing.
how does that not abide by the rules?
Well, but what if something happens in the next 22 months?
So you don't change the name?
Yeah, but it's already recorded that the name will be changed.
Well, they can rescind action if you want to.
Yeah, they can rescind the action, or you can weave it into the motion.
Look, here's my opinion, okay? My opinion is, I think, Nathan, that's a great idea. But I like your thought too. So how do we correlate those two? Right? So how do we compromise those two? And what I'm always been afraid of is a slippery slope. If we do this, then we're gonna do it for everybody.
Right there. They're all down the bottom.
So then we're gonna tell everybody that's left office when they try to name a facility after them, well, let's say yes, but in 2 years you're in. So we have to do it for everybody, no matter what. We set the precedent, right? So then, but I like the idea that we do it.
Not necessarily because, and excuse me for interrupting you, because not everybody that leaves office is going to have the kind of biography and accomplishment that Ms. Collazo had.
Right.
So, that can be a stumbling block for anybody who wants a 2-year, name it after me in 2 years. They still have to go through all of the proof of why. And do they meet the test of being a good citizen and contributing and all of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, clearly Ms. Collazo has all of those credentials.
Yeah, she's got.
So anybody else coming down the road is gonna have to have a pretty high bar, to be considered, I would think.
Yeah, but then we don't have a criteria for that. We don't have a criteria to say, you know what, well, this person, they have 20 years of service, so that they set the bar too. She just sets it higher. So my recommendation is this. My recommendation is that we recommend to the council that she has been an upstanding civil servant and, a public service person, and we think that she is deserving, and her bio's great. We got no issues with that. But avoid changing the name until 2 years from now, or 22 months, whatever. But we have to, but we're the facility naming committee, right? So in other words, maybe there's some way to say that you can't, that Maryland Park cannot be named after anybody because it's pending In other words, what I don't want to happen is if we do what you say, then we're secure that it's going to be named after her. If we do what you say, then you're right, because it's in our criteria. But we can always
So
say,
the motion should be, we would like to follow the criteria, wait the 2 years, so that her name can be suggested or recommended.
and
And in the meantime, we freeze the naming of that park.
bingo, that's what we're going to do.
Very good. Sounds good.
That's two. So it's kind of a compromise between the both of you, I think. But I like Nathan's idea.
My only question is, does that mean that it comes back?
Comes back in.
Yeah. So they gotta make the motion again to bring it back.
Right.
That's fine, but then then if somebody, another city council member recommends somebody else's name
That same park,
to that same park,
it's taken, or it's
then
frozen.
we have the authority to say no,
Because of the,
but then they have the authority to say, we're gonna do what we want.
They still have the authority to say, we're gonna do
Right.
whatever we want anyway.
So, like I said, we're just a
Because they've done it.
We're just recommending.
we're just a recommending committee. There's nothing we can do about that.
Right, no, I understand.
That's the way the bread is sliced in this committee, right? So then, but I think that is a good compromise, that we think that we should be able to freeze the name of that park for Cynthia and abiding by the criteria
Well,
in 2 years.
we can't say for Cynthia, we're gonna freeze the name for 24 months,
Or, yeah, maybe not for Cynthia, right?
and in 24 months,
Come back with the recommendation.
after the criteria is met.
That's a better idea. Yeah, I like that. Okay, I mean, I wish that criteria wasn't in there because she's got such a good bio, but it is. And if we start avoiding one or two criterias, then again, it's gonna create, a precedent
And open up
for any other members that come in. They say, they avoided this one, let's skip this one, or let's avoid that one. They're pretty simple. We're not shooting her down. We're just following the rules or the criteria. That's it. That's all we're doing. Okay? Because we do think she's an upstanding member for the name of that park.
And I'm pretty sure that all of us here feel the same way, but then again, we have to follow the criteria.
Well, like I said, consider the correlation between the facility and the recommended name. The reason we put consider in there was because we said there might not always be a possible correlation between that person and the name. So it's considered. That's why we use that word very carefully. Avoid is a pretty definitive word. It says, you know what? We can't do this. We can't use corporate names because then we're afraid of, somebody's going to buy the name or, the perception that somebody could buy the name, or buy, what I mean. Anyway, so with that being said, does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we send this back to City Council saying that we'd like to follow the criteria. At the same time, we would like to freeze the renaming of the park to a future date when criteria is met,
In
for 24 months.
22 months or whatever.
24.
Or until February 1st of 20.
Yeah, until
There you
February
go.
1st of 2021, right? 20,
She wrote that
21.
in
Right.
19, 20, 21.
Yeah, just make
Yeah.
sure it's a 24
Mhm.
months.
Yes, because the January 31st of 2021 is 2 years.
Okay, so let's restate the motion again. Can you restate it?
That we recommend to council that we follow the criteria of not renaming for 2 years after someone retires, and that we freeze the renaming of the
That
Maryland
particular
Park
Mhm.
until February 1st of 2021.
When the criteria is met.
Can't say that.
No,
Not saying it, but that's what it means.
That's what it
that's
means.
it. Okay, I'll
I
say that.
understand.
Okay,
So, okay. Does
Second,
We all
second
agree with
motion.
we have a second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, that was pretty simple. Okay, so we're good to go on these two people. Well, actually, on one, the other one's pending. And I don't think we have anything else, right? We haven't met in a long time, right? 4 months? August? 5 months?
Yes, August was, that was the one where the commission decided to cancel the meeting because there was conflicting information about the namesake and the family's intentions.
Right.
So the commission canceled it. Since then, I believe we had scheduled a meeting, but there was no quorum at that meeting.
Which, can you refresh my memory? Which one was it?
That item from the August meeting was,
What was the name? Do you
it
remember?
was the young woman, the teenager, and it was the murder victim
The park.
in the park.
The park behind the wall.
Sanchez.
Yes,
Sanchez.
yeah.
Well, Haynes,
The Haynes, the, yeah,
On
the
Clark,
yard
on
behind.
Clark?
Yeah.
Mhm. And so the recommendation to the commission was to name a portion of that park after this young lady who was a victim of a murder in that park. And there was conflicting information about whether her family was
Honored.
honored or offended by that. So council withdrew the motion at the time, but still sent it to the commission, and the commission also did not have a biography of this young woman. So the commission said without a biography, you wouldn't meet until that.
So
was
nothing
met.
came of that?
Nothing came of it.
Okay.
Council didn't take the issue
They
back
didn't
up either.
bring it back up.
Right.
I have a question, Tiffany. Of all the recommendations that we have approved, like John Peter and Consuelo Montalvo, and then what's the guy's name for the Boys Club? Santa Maria? Noyola. Have they been?
Yes, after the commission's meetings, council had approved all of those, so they were renamed.
The park down at the river does have Montalvo,
It does?
husband and wife.
And Duco's Dog Park has signage, I believe
Right.
it's Duco's Dog Park.
And,
Because I went by the Boys Club and wasn't in that.
Oh, no, that,
the
They still
that-
call it North Side, I think. They call it
Northwest.
North Side?
Maybe the sign's not up yet.
The other one's
it
always
might be
Santa
that,
Maria, no
because I
sign right
believe that
there.
that's also a construction contract that has to happen, I
Right.
believe. But it's, yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, everything that the commission has returned back to council was voted and approved by council. Even stuff that you did not approve
Right.
Yeah,
has been approved by council.
yeah. Sometimes, remember, we're just a recommending committee.
Mhm.
If we don't approve something or we decline something, they have the right to override us.
Mhm.
And there's nothing we can do about that. It's just,
They have the right to veto like President,
yeah,
Mhm.
what's his name?
yeah, Trump.
Trump.
So all we can do is, like you said, just do our part, and so long as we do our part, whatever they do, it's up to them,
Right.
okay?
Did we ever get anything on when they renamed the Arturo and Benavides Park?
They never sent us that I could
We never got
remember.
anything, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't get it.
Sent you mean like a biography?
I think that was it the county or was it the city that named
The
it?
city.
City.
Named
So-
it Arturo Benavides Park? Yeah, they didn't,
We got,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I read it
oh,
somewhere.
maybe I missed it.
yeah,
Yeah, I read
we
it
got
somewhere.
remember we
So
said,
you're right, we did get it.
I remember that very clearly.
Yeah.
Mhm. I said,
Maybe I wasn't here.
remember that very clearly, we went through that,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
said, actually, we flashed through. I was suggesting
Bunch of
that
brothers.
there was,
Three brothers.
Several brothers.
there was 4 brothers total that were in the military. One of them died in a bombing run over Europe. I forgot where it was, maybe over Germany. In a bombing run, he was 21 years old, Louis Waltz. And Johnny was a survivor, he was in the military, I mean, he was in the infantry. But I recommended that, Charlie never got back to me. But I recommended that the 4 be honored as opposed to just 1. Because out of the 5 brothers, 4 went to war and 1 died.
Yeah, that was very significant.
Yeah, and they were on the infantry.
And we also recommended
The sign
That they
signs up.
something better
But
than,
for John Ball.
Something better than that park. Yeah, you recommended that
Yeah,
also.
and I don't think, but that's something that Charlie didn't get back, Charlie was too busy, I think, with his campaign or something. Because Charlie would have gone over it. Charlie would have honored that, but he just got too busy. Maybe we can bring that up again at a later time. Whoever your city council member is, maybe you could recommend it, because I think they are deserving.
What about the Dr. Ike's Park? Did they ever,
The what?
Dr. Ike's Park?
They approved it, renamed it as Dr. X.
Dr. Ike's, okay. So we send it back to city council, right?
Oh, yeah, because we said it should be the Ike Epstein Park.
Yeah.
Right.
But Dr. Ike's is fine, that's not a big deal.
Ike's
Everybody,
Park.
that's his nickname, everybody knows him as Dr. Ike.
Mhm.
Okay, with that being said, I think we're done here, right? Nathan, thank you for your successful meeting, and I believe this meeting is now...
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, there you go. Second?
second.
All right, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all's opposed? No? Motion carries. This meeting is now adjourned.